So, we're back, and today we're going to talk about the special characters. And oh boy, are we getting some good special characters, because for once, believe it or not, the Orks have options other than just Warboss or Ghazghkull. And that's not saying anything that those two other options are bad, because Ghazghkull is just as beastly as ever, and Warbosses are still just as good as ever. The problem is now, you've got your units, Badrukk, Zagstruk, and Boss Snikrot are also just as equally good, because they've now got bubbles themselves. And I've said before, we now live in the age of bubbles, so let's get down to business and start with the beast himself, Ghazghkull Thraka. So, Ghazghkull's stats are 5 movement, 2+ weapon skill, 5+ ballistic skill, 6 strength, 6 toughness, 8 wounds, 5 attacks, 8 leadership, and a 2+ save. And Ghazghkull comes armed with a twin big shooter, a custom claw, and stick bombs. So, what do those weapons do? Well, your twin big shooter has a range of 36, and it's assault 6, strength 5, no AP, and 1 damage. Again, Orc shooting for 6 shots. You're probably lucky to making 2 hits per turn, if not 3, and that's at a good push. Again, Orcs are not built for range combat, but we'll get onto the ones that are later. Oop. So, Custom Claw, what is this? Well, range, melee, type, melee, strength ×2, AP -3, and 3 damage. And the other power claws came with a -1 to hit. Ghazghkull doesn't have that. So Ghazghkull will be hitting on 2s with that. That's deadly. That is absolutely deadly. And that is, again, Ghazghkull will be an absolute beast in melee, as in melee. I always pronounce that later. It will always be an absolute beast in close combat, and in this edition he is still going to be an absolute beast. I mean, you've got an 8 wound character there. And it doesn't stop there, because now we're on to his abilities. Well, he's got, here we go, Mob Rule and Great War. So, friendly Orc infantry units within 6 of Ghazghkull at the start of the charge phase, they can charge even if they have advanced this turn. Furthermore, friendly Orc infantry models add 1 to their attack characteristic if they charged this turn, and Ghazghkull Thraka is within 6 of their unit when they fight. So most of you may have noticed there, not only do you get your basic standard run and charge, but now you get +1 to your attack. That is amazing. Ghazghkull giving a +1 to any Orc infantry, which most of your infantry is going to be, has 2 attacks. You add the chopper, that's 3. You throw Ghazghkull in, that's 4. If you use the Weird Boys Warpath ability, that's 5. You use the, later on we'll be getting to the knob with the Warpole. That makes your boys hitting on 2s. Yeah, Orc infantry is going to be deadly in this edition, and the rule applies boys before toys, but we're not finished with Ghazghkull yet, and we're not still finished with the special characters before we get onto them. So, he's got the Prophet of Gork and Mork, and Ghazghkull has an invulnerable save, which is awesome, which is on a 4+. And he also has the Boss's Watching, which is any Orc unit that fails a morale test within 6, he can restore order with a brutal display of violence. If he does so, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, but the unit has considered to have passed their morale. Which is pretty good, to be honest, but I don't think you'll be wondering too much about losing morale to be honest, with Orks this edition. So that's Ghazghkull. So now we get on to Captain Badrukk. And Captain Badrukk has had probably the best upgrade ever. Because for years, ever since the new model came out with 7th edition, I've had him sat on my desk. And I got him painted by someone because I love the model that much. And I thought, my painting's awful, so I'll get him done by someone who can do him some justice. But now I can actually use him because last edition... he was just way too expensive and just not worth it for the points cost. However, not so this edition. So, what are his stats, you may be asking? Well, Captain Badrukk, movement 5, weapon skill 2, ballistic skill 4+. Yep, not a massive improvement, you know, to go from a 5 to a 4+, but that is suddenly... You're hitting more stuff. Suddenly, your weapons and your ranged ability becomes actually shootable. You can actually shoot. So, we continue on with Strength 5, Toughness 4, 6 wounds, 4 attacks, 8 leadership, and he's got a 3+ save, which is not bad. Out of all the other special characters, next to Ghazghkull, Captain Badrukk has the best, wound save. So, what did he come equipped with? Well, he's a single model armed with a slugger, chopper, stick bombs, the Ripper, and maybe accompanied by up to 3 ammo runts. So, what do these weapons do, you ask? Well, we'll start off with the Ripper. The Ripper basically has 2 shooting attacks because the Ripper is basically a plasma gun. So both range 24, so you've got standard and supercharged, both heavy 3 attacks, and basically the only difference here in the statistics, so for a standard shot you have strength 7, -3 AP and 2 damage. Now for the supercharge is strength 8. Now you may be wondering, from strength 7 to strength 8 doesn't seem like a lot. However, if you have played any 8th edition games, what seems to be the thing, particularly what I've noticed, is that there is a massive difference between strength 7 weapons and strength 8 weapons. Particularly when it comes to damage and also hitting stuff really hard, strength 8 weapons are where it starts compared to strength 7. So, again, -3 AP, 3 damage this time, but if you roll 1 or more hit rolls of a 1, the bearer suffers D3 mortal wounds after all the other weapon shots have been resolved. So, you're still going to be taking damage, but it's basically just gets hot from last edition. So, he's got a slugger, chopper, and stick bombs. So in close combat he's actually got 5 attacks, which is not bad. So now we get onto the abilities. So the ammo runt. So each time Captain Badrukk shoots when making hit rolls, you can re-roll 1 dice for each ammo runt accompanying him. So essentially, if you do roll a 1 on your supercharged shot, your ammo runt will give you a re-roll on it, essentially. And his other abilities are, you've got the flashiest git, which is why now you would take, Captain Badrukk and a unit of flash gits. They've got incredible synergy together. But we'll get onto them when we get to them later. So the flashiest git. You can re-roll hit rolls of 1 in the shooting phase for friendly units of flash gits within 6 of Captain Badrukk. Not bad, really. And his final ability is Gold Tooth Armour. Captain Badrukk has a +5 invulnerable save. That is pretty darn good. Not as good as a +4 from Ghazghkull, but he's got a +3 save already. And the fact that he has a invulnerable save, you know, it just adds to it. This is why, at the moment of doing this video, Captain Badrukk is sold out on the GW store. People have realised, and Orc players in particular, have realised that, oh wow, Captain Badrukk is now actually good. So that's Captain Badrukk. Now we get onto boss Zagstruk. Oh boy. And trust me, if you're going to run Storm Boys in this edition, then you want boss Zagstruk. Because like all the special characters, they've all received massive upgrades, and Zagstruk's no different. So, movement 12, because he's got a jump pack. Weapon skill +2, ballistic skill 5, strength 6, toughness 4, 6 wounds, 6 attacks as standard. So he's doing one more attack than Ghazghkull, although he also comes with a chopper as well, so that means 7 attacks. And 7 leadership, and he's got a 4+ save. So what does he come equipped with? Well, boss Zagstruk is a single model armed with the vulture claws, a slugger, a chopper, and stick bombs. We know what the slugger do, we know what the chopper do, so the vulture claws. Range, close range, it's a, you know, close combat weapon, so strength +2 to the user, -3 AP, D3 damage, and each time the bearer fights, only 2 attacks can be made with this weapon. So essentially, 2 attacks with, again, as we've discussed, strength 8. That's massive, particularly when you're talking about, you know, to wound rolls and, you know, their defense. It will chew through armor, even tank armor. And of course, D3 damage, which again is the big thing about this edition. The D3 damage is, you know, meh, but it's still not bad. You know, it's not bad to write home about, but it's also good as well. Again, it depends on how lucky you are with dice rolls. So his abilities. So he's got, here we go, mob rule, standard for every orc unit, and then he's got full throttle. So this is the jetpack ability, from what it seems. Boss Zagstruk can advance and charge in the same turn, but if he does, roll a d6 after any overwatch has been resolved. On a roll of a 1, he suffers a mortal wound. That's not bad for, you know, your risk-reward factor. Last time, in the last edition, you were obviously taking a dangerous terrain test, I believe it was, and you were more likely to lose far more orc units than you were certainly in this edition. Because remember, this is the orc infantry, orc jump infantry unit attacks. The other ability that he has, which is also really, really good, cyborg body. Each time this model loses a wound, roll a d6. On a roll of a 5 or a 6, the wound is not lost. That's pretty darn good. Because remember, a Pain Boy this edition, you have to get a 6. So being able to do that on a 5 or a 6 is pretty good. And this also looks like that it counts for mortal wounds. I'm not 100% sure if it does. If it doesn't, you know, do mention it down in the comments. So the final one is Drill Boss. This is awesome because friendly units of Goth Storm Boys within 6 of boss Zagstruk automatically pass morale tests. So you do not have to worry about morale tests if he is with your Storm Boys, which you want him to do. Because not only does he pack an absolute wallop with, you know, 7 attacks, essentially, with, you know, 6 strength, and then you've got the Vulture Claws, so if you encounter any Dreadnoughts, you've got the perfect way to deal with them. With Zagstruks, with 2 attacks from that. That's awesome. So the final guy we come to is Boss Snikrot. So how has Boss Snikrot changed? Well, he's got a movement of 6, which is 1 more movement than anyone else. +2 weapon skill, +5 ballistic skill, 6 strength, 4 toughness, 6 wounds, 6 attacks, 7 leadership, and a +6 save, which is... So what do you come equipped with? Well, Boss Snikrot comes equipped with Mork's Teeth and stick bombs. And that's essentially it. So what do Mork's Teeth do? Well, strength user, so 6 strength essentially, -1 AP, but 2 damage. That's not bad, damage-wise. For 6 attacks, it's pretty good. So what are his abilities? Well, he's got standard here we go mob rule, and then here come his interesting stuff. The sneakiest git. When he is in cover, add 3 instead of 1 to the saving throws for Boss Snikrot. That's pretty good. So if you're going to basically have him in cover, which you want him to do because he's only got a 6+ save, then absolutely. So this is the other good one, Cunning Infiltrator. During deployment, you can set up Boss Snikrot in hiding instead of placing him on the battlefield. At the end of any of your movement phases, Snikrot can stalk from his hiding place, setting him up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from any enemy models, meaning that you could get a charge straight in. It's, again, a bit of a long shot, but it's doable. And then finally, Red Skull Commandos. You can reroll hit rolls of 1 in the fight phase for any friendly units of Blood Axe Commandos within 6 of Boss Snikrot. So, as usual, you want Snikrot to be leading your commandos, just as he was in last edition and pretty much every edition since, really. And the final one from is Terrifying Killer. Enemy models making morale test within 6 of Boss Snikrot, add 1 to the result. Meh. Basically, might come in useful, might not. So that's the end of the special characters. Now, for those of you paying attention, you'll notice that there's been a casualty. Yes, we've lost, unfortunately, War Boss Gruk from the Red War, to a point where they put him in the reprint of War Ghazghkull, but then 8th edition he just disappears. So unfortunately we've lost him, but he was just a war boss essentially with a slightly better power claw at 10 points cheaper, so it's not a massive loss, but it's still a loss anyway. So join me next time where we'll be discussing the elites, and that will be quite a long video because they have lots of, not too many of this section of elites, but we'll be discussing, we'll not get onto the elites yet, never mind that. Next time we'll be discussing the mech, the Pain Boy, and of course Mad Dog Grotznik. So enjoy that next time it comes.